Works pretty good. Okay. Yes. Should be working now. Uh, Physics of Immortality. Hmm. So, modern cosmology, God, and the resurrection of the dead. Hmm. It's quite rare in this day and age to come across a book proclaiming the unification of science and religion. It is unique to find a book asserting, as I shall in the body of this book, that theology is a branch of physics, that physicists can infer by calculation the existence of God and the likelihood of the resurrection of the dead to eternal life in exactly the same way as physicists calculate the properties of the electron. You may wonder naturally if I, the author, is serious. The author is Frank J. Tipler. The It asks the question, is there a God? Most modern scientists would answer that question with a simple no. Would say that there is no proof, no indication, no hint in nature that the universe is anything but a cold, unknowing place. Human beings are accidents of evolution. When we die, consciousness disappears into oblivion. But what if there was proof? What if there was with the publication of the Physics of Immortality, science has found God. Oh, there's a lot of math in this book. Let's flip it over and get to the mathematics of immortality. Let's see if we can understand a, a grain of this. Quantum mini superspace model with an omega point. In standard quantum gravity, the wave function of the universe obeys the Wheeler-DeWitt equation. There's the Wheeler-DeWitt equation. 1, 2. L dot 1. It looks like an H with a arrow, and there's a Greek letter. Looks like a pitchfork, a trident. I'm not sure what, what, what that letter is. Where H with a hat, let's call it, is the super Hamiltonian operator. This operator contains the equivalent of time derivatives in the Schrodinger equation. I say the equivalent because quantum gravity does not contain time as an independent variable. Rather, other variables, matter or the spatial metric, are used as time markers. In other words, the variation of the physical quantities is time. Depending on the variable chosen to measure time, the time interval between the present and the initial or final singularity can be finite or infinite. This is already familiar from classical general relativity. The Wheeler-DeWitt equation is too complicated to solve in full generality, so physicists have taken to restricting it to a finite number of variables. This space is called mini superspace. A mini superspace model which will rigorously reproduce figure V.4 can be obtained as follows. If matter is in the form of a perfect fluid, the action S in the ADM formulation, formalism, the ADM formalism can be written S is equal to the integral R plus P in closed parentheses. Yeah, the integral of parentheses R plus P parentheses closed times the square root is that the square root? I suppose so. Of negative G uh, would I say the derivative to the fourth power of x, or integrated in over space to the fourth power, and that is equal to the integral of L of AD dt, which is what is that? That's what you integrate over time. That's L dot 2. Where P is the fluid pressure. Where's P? Okay, and R is the Ricci scalar. If the space-time is assumed to be a Friedman universe containing isentropic perfect fluids, Lipchinski and Rubakov have shown the canonical variables can be chosen. R, B, maybe, and X. Those are the canonical variables, where R is the scalar factor of the universe, and B is S, our particular parameterizations of the fluid variables called Schultz potential. The momenta conjugate to these canonical variables will be written in terms of P sub R, P sub B, and P sub S. The ADM Lagrangian in these variables can be shown to be L sub ADM is equal to P sub R times R prime plus P sub B prime plus P sub S prime minus N parentheses H sub G plus H sub M parentheses close. That's L dot 3, where the prime denotes the time derivative. Oh, did I read that wrong? Let me read this one again. This equation. L A sub ADM is equal to P sub R prime plus P sub, I think it's called a C or phi times phi prime plus P sub S times S prime minus N parentheses close H sub G plus H sub M. Did I say parentheses close? No, go back. N times parentheses H sub G plus H sub M parentheses close. So that's L dot 3, where the prime denotes the time derivative. Time derivative A, so this is what H sub S sub G means. It's equal to, I think that's a minus. A minus. A minus. Factor, two terms. uh, the first one is P sub R squared, I suppose, over 24R, capital R, minus 6R, L dot 4. So is the purely gravitational super Hamiltonian and H sub m is n squared r times r squared times this this sub equation, this sub component consisting of, in parentheses, uh, rho plus p times u uh, to the 0 power to the square plus p times g 0, 0. So that term is multiplied to that, and that is equal to this, which is p sub I, no, yeah, to the gamma power r, times r to the third time, to the third, and in parentheses 1 minus, is that gamma? E times e to the fifth. Oh, all of that. Is both the coordinate energy density measured by a moving observer and the super Hamiltonian of the matter. The momentum conjugate to r, the scale vector of the universe, is p sub r is equal to negative 12r r prime over n. That's how that looks. Let's pause for a moment and look at the equations going down this way. And briefly, and check the next page and scan over the equations here. Uh, 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 where L sub P is the Planck length. Okay, let's go to the next page. Let's see. References. The omega point boundary condition on the universal wave function. Life must be prepared to survive arbitrarily close to the final singularity. The definition of life given in section H was based on classical space-time concepts, and one is certainly correct to be dubious about the validity of these notions close to the final singularity, when the radius of the universe is less than L sub P, the Planck length. Mm, mm, reference. Wait a minute. Okay. So, mm, so that's in the back of the book. There's. Let's see. Uh, let's go over the preface. So this author is quite serious, and the mathematics is quite serious. But I am, the author says, but I am as surprised as the reader. When I began my career in cosmology some 2 years ago, I was an atheist. I never in my wildest dreams imagined that one day we'd be writing a book or reporting to show that the central claims of Judeo Christian theology are in fact true, that these claims are straightforward deductions of the laws of physics as we now understand them. I have been forced into these conclusions by the inexorable logic of my own special branch of physics. I obtained my PhD in 1976 in the area of global general relativity. This branch of physics, created in the late 1960s and early 70s by the great British physicists Roger Penrose and Stephen Hawking, enables us to draw very deep and very general conclusions about the structure of space and time by looking at the universe and its totality in both time and space. Now, one might think that such a view of the universe is the view, is the view of all cosmologists, but it is not. Almost all cosmologists concern themselves with what is called the visible universe. That part of the universe whose past can be seen from Earth. Since the universe came into existence about 20 billion years ago, and since nothing can go faster than light, we can in principle see the pasts of galaxies, which are now about 20 billion light years away. The visible universe is thus a sphere about 20 billion light years across. But to anyone regarding the universe in its total extent in space and especially in time, it is immediately obvious that the visible universe is only a tiny fraction of reality. The universe is almost certain to continue to exist for another, say, 100 billion years, and probably much longer. In other words, the part of the space time which can be seen from Earth is relatively insignificant in comparison to the part which lies in our future. We humans have come into existence in the very early childhood of the cosmos. And as a global relativist, I realized that I would have to study the future of the universe, since the future comprises almost all of space and time. It is not possible to look at the universe in its totality in both time and space while ignoring almost all of space and time. But how does one calculate the behavior of the universe in the far future? My colleague, the British astrophysicist John D. Barrow, has proved that this behavior would be chaotic, which means that the evolution of the universe becomes unpredictable after a short time in cosmological scales. It is now known that chaotic evolution is common on all astronomical scales. On the scale of the solar system, on the scale of the galaxies, on the scale of clusters of galaxies, and so on up to the scale of the entire universe itself. Hmm. Furthermore, blah, blah, blah. Uh, uh, let's see what it says here. Many people find this extreme reductionist approach to life not only wrong but repulsive. I think, however, that their hostility is not to reductionism as such, but to what they mistakenly believe to be the consequences the consequences of reductionism. They are convinced that regarding people as machines would mean that people would have no free will. If there's no hope of individual life after death, that life itself is a totally insignificant part of an overwhelmingly hostile universe. In fact, the existence is the exact opposite is true. Mm. Or this goes on. It is in conclusion. On rare occasions, we physicists find we must reconsider long rejected theories. Copernicus was perfectly aware that he was resurrecting a theory that had been rejected by astronomers nearly 2,000 years before. And his student, Rheticus, reported in 1539, my teacher, Copernicus, is convinced, however, that the rejected method of the sun's rule in the realm of nature must be revived. So Copernicus himself, in his own book, published 4 years after Rheticus, wrote these words, emphasized that the ancient astronomers had considered and then rejected the sun centered solar system. So it is time we scientists reconsider the God hypothesis. I hope in this book to persuade them to do so. The time has come. The time has come to absorb theology into physics, to make heaven as real as an electron. Or Alton Beach. Fort Walton Beach, Florida, July 1993. This was written 30 some years ago. Physics, the physics of immortality. Oh, sorry. Uh, the the physics of immortality by Frank J. Tipler. So here we will go through and learn physics of immortality. It shouldn't take but 3 or 4 years. So hang in there with me while I go through it. Thanks for watching. May all sentient beings be happy and be free from sorrow, be in a happy state and free from sorrow state for a very long time. May their happiness and joy increase exponentially to envelop the whole universe. Have a